What's for lunch there, Jack? Hey, did you hear in the news that New Zealand is going to apparently be one of the few countries that actually survive like a total global chaos because you all have done so well?
Yes, both of my parents sent that to me this morning.
Yeah, it's feeling very grateful to be in this space, to be able to be free, and yeah, thinking of all the other countries who have been through a pretty tough year and couldn't imagine what a real lockdown is. I think we had a month lockdown total, but yeah, it's definitely in the bigger cities and around the world. Yeah, thoughts out to those guys doing it tough, eh?
That's for sure. It's nice to see you there, Joel. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thanks, Shannon. Howdy, guys. It's a pleasure to be here and see all your beautiful faces. Jack, I hear your sentiment, mate. We just got announced another 4 weeks minimum lockdown. We've been in 4 already, so it's we're literally in the thick of it in Sydney, Australia, and it's pretty gnarly. Like, everyone's mental health is going through massive ups and downs, and just being like, yeah, we're good, and then, oh my god, we're super fucked right now. And I guess the good part is everyone's talking about their mental health a hell of a lot more. But I think that the work that we do has never been more important than it is now, with people in sort of mainstream community realizing how much they're actually struggling. So it's pretty special to be able to provide that support, but also making sure that our own team are actually doing what they need to do to stay well while they are being the helpers of the people that need to be helped.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. I like seeing some of these new faces here. We have Krista and of course Natalie, who's graciously going to be our co-host today. And then we have Miss Paula, who's from Dubai. Thank you for being here, Paula, even though you're in the airport. Nice to see you, Amanda. How are you?
Hi, I'm Nikki. I don't know why Amanda sent
gosh.
me the link.
Sorry. I was like, wait a second, that doesn't look right, but I'm just gonna say it because, okay, so sorry about that, Nikki.
No, she just sent me the link, and so there must be something there, but I'll rename myself. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so we just had, Chris asked me to ask a couple questions of you before we get started. And also, I think you're all in that email from Miss Paula from France. And since that would probably take most of our session today, and we do have a nice presentation by Natalie to look forward to, I was wanting to know if you could all just reply, individually to Paula and respond with your responses. That way she can go through everything and have it documented, and that might be easiest for her as well. So to begin with, first question is, are you attending the conference this year that is going to be October 6th, 7th, and 8th in Cornwall? Who's going to attend? Show of hands? No? Yes?
Is it online too?
Yes, it will be online. So that's another question. If you will be attending, would you like to be there virtually or in person?
Virtual. Yep.
Okay. So if it's available for everybody to be there virtually, you might be able to do virtual. I'm seeing lots of nods. Okay, that's good. Thank you. And then last question, is there anything particular you all would like to get out of the conference this year?
I think the best practice concept for me is one where just understanding what's being done and what's working best in each location, or different styles of programs people are running. I think we can always do better, and across the board, everyone can do better by learning from each other. So I guess that knowledge translation, that knowledge sharing community will be one thing, but then understanding maybe the do's and the don'ts at the same time.
Okay, great, Joel, thanks. Anyone else have any ideas for now? Let's see, so we have reports on research coming out. I'm just saying this so that it's recorded because the text box may not come through. Well, if you think of anything, just feel free to respond to our email. I mean, this isn't, last chance to be able to answer it. So thanks for putting your mind to that and, sharing any responses you have. Before we get into our amazing presentation we have today by Miss Natalie Small, I'd just like for our new people to have a chance to introduce themselves. We have Krista Davis. Krista, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your organization, please?
Kia ora. I've met some of you, but yeah, thanks for the invite. I've been planning to get along to these for like 5 months and it just hasn't happened. So good to see the familiar faces that I know and love, and good to see some new faces. Yeah, my name's Krista. I am in New Zealand and I work with Live for More. So Live for More does surf therapy with disengaged, really high risk young men between 17 and 25. So backgrounds of drug addiction, gang, prison, justice, everything that society probably doesn't like. And we chuck these guys in the water and they get all sorts of counseling, mentoring, lots of intensive support. It's kind of a wraparound holistic program. The surfing is not a minor part, but in terms of how much other stuff we do, the actual surfing is just a part of the interventions that we provide. So yeah, looking forward to collaborating and yeah, getting some good knowledge today from what is shared.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Krista. It's great to see your face again. Paula, what about you? You look like you're off somewhere. Where are you headed? And would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and your organization, please?
So yeah, I'm actually headed to Ireland today from Dubai. So we are on a really difficult travel restriction in Dubai, so we can't really go to many places, but I have to fly through Ireland to get back to England. So I have to spend 11 days there. I'm at the very beginning stages of building out a program. We don't have much swell in the Gulf, so we actually only have waves for about 5 months of the year. So I've got maybe 3 months until they begin again. So I have some time to really map out the project and get people involved and set it up properly. So right at the beginning stages.
Fantastic. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And last but not least, our newest addition, Miss Natalie Small. Natalie, please take it away.
Hey, it's exciting to be back in circle with everybody. I feel like I've been like feeling and like catching up with all y'all through all the social media pieces and following these lectures, but to actually like be in this feels really good. And so from the feedback that from the feedback and from the different workshops was the idea of how to create container and boundaries using our trauma-informed model and mindset that we hold with Groundswell. And so as a little precursor, I kind of warm up into it, I would love just to invite everybody to take a moment to, even if you want to do it on a piece of paper, to help like get it out of your body and out of your mind into a space in front of you. But taking a moment to notice, what are you noticing in your head? What's alive in your mind? And maybe you can write that down on a piece of paper, or maybe just visualize it. Maybe there's colors or movement or words or a phrase. Moving into our body, what's alive in your body? Maybe there's parts that feel numb, parts that feel movement, parts that need to move, parts that are tired, parts that feel strong. So just noticing what's alive in your body. And then noticing what's alive in your heart, especially as we are coming together from all over the world to do this work and to explore and to learn and to lean in together. I welcome you to write that down on the paper, whether it's a word or a phrase, or maybe an image. And so our Groundswell model is based in somatic and art therapies that come from a trauma-informed foundation. And so with Groundswell, we believe that being trauma-informed is actually being resiliency-informed, and being able to recognize the strengths and the capacities and the abilities of the individuals and the communities that we're working with. And so to be able to hold a container that really elevates those resiliencies we start all of our programs with our grounding guidelines. And so that's really to, like, people show up at the beach. For some people, it's really exciting. For some people, it's very anxiety provoking. They're trying something new for the first time. And so all these different emotions and experiences can be happening at the same time as everyone's showing up. And so being able to create a container that people can walk into and know, I know what I'm showing up to, I know what to expect, that creates safety, which helps promote trauma healing and ability to, like, really show up in more powerful ways. And so our grounding guidelines are an opportunity to really invite people to not just speak them together, but to embody them together. So welcome our body into the healing process, which is one of the things that surfing naturally does, as well as being able to really opt into that as a community. So everyone might be showing up for their own individual healing, but it's happening more powerfully because we're being seen and honored within the community space. And so I'm going to go through our grounding guidelines with you all today and invite, like, welcome them into your body. And then afterwards, get a chance to explore them a bit and then dive into, like, what would be a grounding guideline that would be really powerful for you to, that would help support a space that is safe and strong for your community. So that way they can really be brave in their own expressions of self and healing within their and within the community space. And so welcome to your body. You need to do a little wiggle, you can get a little wiggle in, maybe feeling your feet on the ground. And so our first grounding guideline is I choose to be present. And so as you notice what presence means to you, maybe taking a moment to notice, like, do I feel present? Or is my mind thinking about all the other things? I'm actually on my emails. My heart's, like, fluttering into all these different directions. Or maybe I'm just like, oof, exhausted. And so just noticing in your body, what would presence feel like and look like for you if you were really present right now? What would be alive in your mind if you were really present? What would be alive in your heart? What would be alive in your body? And we'll do 3 breaths together, welcoming in presence into our belly, and into our mind, and into our body. And in doing that, being able to express it in our bodies and being able to start exploring and playing with, like, if I really showed up today and was present, what would it feel like and what would it look like? And so we'll inhale in, I choose, your choice. And then exhaling out, showing what presence looks like and feels like in your body today. Inhaling in, I choose. And exhaling out, what does presence look like and feel like if your body was going to express it today? And final one, because sometimes waves come in sets of 3. Inhaling in, I choose. And exhaling out, what does presence feel like and look like for you today? And then our second grounding guideline is I choose to speak for myself. So I'll welcome in some taps to your throat space. You can even welcome in a little, warming up your voice. There it is. So really honoring your voice as your voice and each other's voices as their voices. So that way, when we speak, it's coming from your truth and your power. And so honoring that power of your voice when you share your story, share your truth, and share your purpose. And I choose to take care of myself. And so for this, we welcome in the comfort hold. So one hand across our gut and one hand across our heart space over towards our shoulder. And even just doing this small act releases the hormones in our brain and in our body to know that we're held and that we're okay, and releases those feelings of happiness and being known. And so this is always accessible to us. And during programs, during this session, if you do get called on and you're like, oof, I just need, like, there's no words to talk about what I'm experiencing, because either it's like so much awe or just there's blankness, we can always come to the comfort hold and the opportunity to hold silence as just as powerful as the opportunity to speak your voice. And sometimes holding silence is even more powerful. Just like when you're with music, the silence between the beats is actually what makes music music. And so we offer this opportunity to take care of yourself, however that looks like for you today. And then on the flip side of that, to challenge yourself. So feeling your feet on, welcoming the strength and coming up through your feet, through your core, into your shoulders and your chest and even to your face. And how can you challenge yourself to really show up today and maybe do something that you've never thought possible. And so being on that edge of that wave, like, are you going to drop in or are you going to back out? Sometimes it's important to back out and comfort yourself. Sometimes it's important to just like drop in and go for it and see what happens. And then paddle back out and try again. And so let's do that 2 more times together, welcoming this grounding guideline into our bodies. So I choose to speak for myself, honoring your voices, your voice, take care of myself, welcome in the comfort hold. And to challenge myself, you can welcome a little that inner strength inside of you out as you feel comfortable. One more time. I choose to speak for myself. What does that look like to really speak your voice today? Feeling spoken through, honoring your truth as your truth and each other's truth is their truth. Take care of myself and to challenge myself as I feel able. Yes, flex it, flex that resiliency. And then I choose to respect myself, my surf sisters and brothers, and this space. And so for this, we welcome one of our embodiments that we call the wave of love. And that's honoring the connection between our bodies and Mother Earth's body, and how our bodies are 75-ish% water. The earth is 75% water. And so in our hearts are like these little mother oceans that are pumping these rivers of life through our bodies to allow us to think and connect and create and surf. And so when someone shares their voice, we envision ourselves like sending out little waves of love from our heart to their heart, saying, I hear you, I see you, and I honor you. And then they get the opportunity to receive and practice that gift of receiving. And so welcoming in those little waves of love into their heart. And really that power of not just giving, but also receiving. And so as we embody our third grounding guideline is I choose to respect myself, first allowing yourself to be filled up, allowing yourself to ask for help, allowing yourself to say no or yes, and the power of that, really respecting and honoring yourself today in a radical way. And then sending out the waves of love to the different surf sisters and surf brothers with us or at the beach we're at, saying, I hear you, I see you, and I honor you for showing up exactly where you're at. And then sending out waves of love. If we were at the beach, you could look at Mother Ocean and welcome how her waves of love are happening into your body. So I'm nowhere near the ocean right now, so I'm like near a lake, so I'm super placid. And so welcoming in, how can we really honor and respect Mother Ocean? As she is giving us this opportunity to be healed and connect and feel all these different experiences in our bodies, how can we show up for her? From taking care of the waterways, from when we're in the ocean to when we're back at home. And so how can we send out waves of love to our Mother Ocean, all from when we're in the water to back on land? So let's do that two more times together to welcome in this grounding guideline. I choose to honor myself, to respect myself, to honor and respect my surf sisters and surf brothers, and to honor and respect this space, Mother Ocean, whatever her body is doing near you, you can welcome it in, and you can even see her sending little waves of love back if you're by her. One more time, I choose to respect myself as a radical act. I choose to respect my surf sisters and surf brothers, and I choose to respect and honor Mother Ocean. And then our final grounding guideline is my personal favorite, and it is I choose to be stoked. And so we honor stoke as that blue mind zone where mind, body, soul is all connected and aligned. You are in a state of flow. You are truly present. And stoke can look like a whole range. It can be this range of when you're out in the ocean, you see a dolphin jump and there's a little rainbow and it just moves you into the space of like stillness and silence and awe. Or it can also be the stoke where you're just like hooting and hollering and throwing the shakas. You just got the wave of your life and you're like screaming it from the rooftops and everybody's just so pumped. So it can be this big energy space or this like stillness and awe space. And so I want to invite you to connect with a moment of stoke that you've had this week. Like, I haven't felt stoke in a while. Depression, anxiety, grief, those things have just been the waves that have been consistently in my body. But honoring that the ocean has space for all the different types of waves. And so even if you haven't felt the wave stoke in a while, we're going to play with it today and welcome it in and explore it and see what's possible as we welcome that in. And so connecting with a moment of stoke that you've either felt recently or would like to feel and explore today. And we're going to inhale in, I choose. And on our exhale, I'm going to invite you to express your form of stoke in your body. And so we'll do that 3 times together. Inhaling in, I choose. And exhaling out, to be stoked. Dance party. I haven't danced in public in so long. There we go. Inhaling in, I choose. Exhaling out, to be stoked. Feeling it, grooving it. And final one, inhaling it in, I choose. And exhaling out, to be stoked. Beautiful. And so with these grounding guidelines, this is something that we practice at the beginning of every single session. And so the first session, we create these grounding guidelines together with the group and invite each person to sign it as this is their contract, this is their opt-in. And the reason why all these grounding guidelines are I choose statements is because when you are giving people the opportunity to choose, that in itself is healing trauma experiences. Because oftentimes when someone has experienced a trauma, they didn't get the choice to experience it or not. Their no wasn't respected, their yes wasn't respected, choice was taken away from them. So even just this simple embodiment and speaking in of like, I'm choosing this, I'm choosing it for myself, I'm choosing it for my community, that in itself and being embodied and spoken and practiced can help start healing those neurological pathways for resiliency. And it also helps with that transition from going to the parking lot to from work, from home, from all the different things that have been happening during that day into really setting this container and this space for what we're about to go into together and really weave together. And so this is one of our little tools for really helping set space and boundaries and containers around that. And it's been applied from like individual surf therapy sessions to group surf therapy sessions to like camp surf therapy type settings, and just really helps like everyone land and get present and start that experience of like welcoming things into our body and welcoming our body into the healing process and starting to notice what's happening in our bodies and what's happening in the present space rather than just being in our headspace, which is really common when we are experiencing trauma triggers and just life in general. I feel like productivity and success in life in the US culture at least is like very in the head. And so to take a moment to like get into our bodies and welcome our bodies into this space is a huge part of this healing journey. So I would love to give y'all a moment thinking of your communities and the people that you work with. What would be a grounding guideline that could be really powerful and potent to really helping your individuals, families, communities drop in to being present, to being in their bodies, and like a powerful choice, powerful opt-in. So I'll give everyone a moment to think about that and write that down. Maybe it's one that's already there, or maybe you're like, ooh, this would be really like potent for my community. Maybe 30 more seconds to jot that down. And you can always like keep on coming to it. This is actually one of the questions that we ask at our groups at the end of going through the grounding guidelines that we've created. We ask them, are there any other grounding guidelines that feel important to be spoken into and created together? If y'all would like, I would love to hear from each of you what a grounding guideline would be and what it would look like in your body if you're going to embody it. Does anyone want to go first? Go for it, Joe. Yeah.
What resonated a lot for me, Natalie, I love that exercise of physically representing those things. And for us, like we call it no dropping in. So when you mention the word dropping in, or drop in to be present, it sort of resonated a lot. And what we usually say is be respectful, so much so that you don't drop in on someone else's vibe, whether it is their energy, their conversation, their sentence, whether it is, crushing what they're feeling. And so I think the way that you would manifest or represent that in your body would be through light and through positivity and through shining light to that person while they have the floor, just like we don't drop in and serve.
The way to love. Awesome. Thank you, Joel. What would that look like if your body was just going to be light?
I think you'd be there, like, so we're obviously sitting in the sand and light is open. It's sort of positive energy. It's allowing it to resonate through your limbs and out of your soul to them. So giving them that energy that you have.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'll go. What came up for me is just allowing whatever is there to be there. Sort of, Amanda and I work with teen girls who are in recovery and patient. And today, in fact, we had a group, and it's like when they arrive, there's just in their bodies, you can sense the fear, anxiety, stress, pain. And it just feels so important to let that be, allow it. And whatever, in terms of like, what does that look like? I don't really know, but it's sort of like allowing that, them, if this is where they're at, like, this is where they're at, it's okay. So.
Yeah. So maybe that's like, I choose to be exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
I can go. It's the one that came to mind is quite similar to what Nikki just shared, but I wrote down, I choose to be real. So authenticity and vulnerability is like one of our core values, and we're trying to always get the guys to just be real. Like the guys we're working with are colorful, to say the least. So a lot of those other ones that you just explained for Groundswell, like, probably wouldn't work with our guys. But if we can just get them to be real, like whether they're totally out the gate and fried on meth, or they're sad, or whatever is going on for them, like, it's important for them to actually just be totally honest, like, more than anything else, because the last thing we want is masks and fakeness, because you can't heal it all if you're not being true to what's actually happening for you. So I don't know what that would look like, but something, yeah, be real. I don't know.
I love that. And I think that's so important to check, to like notice like what is going to attune to each population and each individual is going to be different. And so what's real to one person is going to look different than what's real to another person. And inviting that in. I choose to be real. I like it.
Cool. I'll go next. So behind our kaupapa is the getting off farm piece for farmers and rural communities. So I choose to take a break is what we share. Obviously, break off farm and then surf break, so they align together. And yeah, that's something that we do have the perfect break, but I choose to take a breaks. That's the.
I love the punny. Good punniness too. Well done.
What came to my mind was I choose to release what had power over me. And it's just something that you said that really resonated, that people didn't choose to experience the trauma they experienced. And the people that I would like to work with, I feel like things happen to them. So I want to kind of encourage them to just start a new life and shake off. So it's just a big body shaking movement to get rid of whatever that power was and have your own power.
Beautiful. Acknowledge it, honor it.
Awesome. Wait.
I can go unless Karen wanted to go. Karen, are you still there? Okay, I'll go. So, oh, she's going.
Sorry, I'm actually driving through Vegas right now, so I'm just listening to the call, but I am embodying everything everyone's saying.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot. I just wanted to make sure you had a chance. Drive safely. So we work with special needs children. So, you know, clearly not adults, but I would say that theirs would be, I choose to be a kid, because often they're seen as their disability, whatever that could be. So what we do before every event is we actually, all the kids line up, even if they're in a beach wheelchair, if they're with their buddy and they have mobility issues, and they run through this obstacle course, and all of the volunteers are surrounding them, cheering their names, screaming, just really seeing them at the very beginning, and it puts everyone on a level playing field, and they all get just to be kids for the rest of the day. So I think that that's the grounding exercise.
I'd love to be a kid. Maybe that should be my grounding guideline. Awesome. I'm aware of the time. Shanden, do we need to wrap in?
You know, we have until 6:30,
Oh,
so
6:30. Okay.
yeah, we're good. Thanks for asking. Does anyone have any questions before we go on? You know, if we're wrapping this part of it up, there are other things we can talk about as well. All right, well, Natalie, you did a great job. No questions. Okay, so I guess since we have a little bit of time, we can talk about, well, actually, I want to say thank you, Natalie, first of all, before we move on, for that really great presentation. Thank you so much for all those tools. I'm sure that we can all use them in our practice. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that and, you know, really explain it in a way that translates again. So thank you for that. So we can talk about some of the questions that Paula had from her email, since we have time to do that. So the first question she asked was, how do you decide if someone should or should not be eligible for surf therapy sessions? What do you all think about that? Should everyone be allowed to come in? Are there any restrictions on that?
Yeah, I guess I could kick off. I personally think there shouldn't be any restrictions, like who's to not bring someone in and to measure them on their mental well-being. It's a self-reflection and self-effort to get to the beach. And I feel like the people who have made the commitment to go to the beach and you know, need that and really want that, and so to be denied at the beach because, you know, you haven't got a certificate or you haven't got proven mental health issues is quite a could be quite offensive, and yeah, that's my point of view. But
oh, it's fantastic, Jack.
Yeah.
So, and what do you think if there's only 10 spots for participants? Like, who would have priority, or how would you organize something like that?
Yeah, if there was only 10 spots, then, you know, you could say these 20 people, then just get them on rotation every second week, or if they want to do half an hour sessions or just away, so everyone can get in and get involved. So there's definitely a way to work around that, but I wouldn't not allow people because of not having proven mental health issues. It's challenging enough if you do have mental health issues to rock up to the beach, and then it's quite a touchy situation. So yeah, I'm sure they can make it work that way.
Oh, definitely. And do you think that doctor's letters should be required to be a participant, or do you think it's just, hey, I'm really feeling like I could use support, or how do you all think about that? Or what do you all think about that?
I think it really depends on the goal and the mission of the individual program. And so if you are, like for Groundswell, we have programs that are specifically for women who are in recovery from sexual abuse or different addictions, or Syrian refugee populations. And so if there's a program that's specific for a certain experience, like making sure that those referrals are coming through for that experience. But if it's a generalized mental health support program, then being able to, I mean, we have people coming from all different venues, and so we have people coming in from referrals, people coming in from clinics, and people also coming in through word of mouth. I think that's one of the beautiful parts of surf therapy, is that it provides opportunity for people to get mental health support that maybe wouldn't go to a doctor or go to a therapist or have the resources or go and receive those westernized medical services. And so to be able to have surf therapy kind of be this bridge to opening up this opportunity for healing that maybe wouldn't otherwise be accessible or wanted by others. And so I think it can be both, coming from doctors, referrals, as well as from community and outreach. And if someone's reaching out with interest in doing it, that's a huge, brave step. And so I found for our programs, if someone like there's like an intake process, there's a sign up process, there's the act of like just reaching out and asking. And so all those different pieces, if someone is coming for the wrong reasons, like, I don't know, is just wanting a surf lesson, then if they're going through all those different processes, then they would come to learn like, oh, I'm actually just wanting like an hour-long surf lesson. I want to learn how to surf and get better at my cutback. Then maybe this isn't like what they're going to be wanting to invest in their time in, and we can give referrals for that. So that way, as long as people know like exactly what they are opting into and signing up, I've never had problems with people being there that shouldn't be there.
That's great. Well, thank you for your help answering this. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to chime in with about that question?
I think it's a bit of an interesting dance, because often you've got people who, like I think Natalie was alluding to this, but you would otherwise not access mainstream mental health support, but you feel like you can identify with, oh, surfing's more my thing, and I'm that person who would otherwise fall through the cracks. So that's where I'm going to go. And for us, it's been a bit of a juggle between making sure that they're suitable for that kind of mainstream wellness population, or if we've got a program that's more mental ill health, then we'll put them in there. And I think that often we are really uncomfortable in asking the questions that need to be asked. And so for us, our language that we've started to use over the years has been, what's your mental health history? And sometimes people feel really uncomfortable about that. What's been your experience with mental health over the years? And what is it that means that you really want to come and get involved in this program? And then all of a sudden it gives them an opportunity to stop and consider, well, actually, I don't just want to learn how to surf, but also I want to learn about this. And if they don't, that's a really great way to imply that, hey, this is not just your average learn to surf group. There's a whole lot of other stuff here. And if you're not the right person for that, that's cool too. But let's make sure that this is, I guess, the right people that are all going to be surrounding each other. So for us, if we get someone that comes to a group and says, I think this is for me, and then they get there and they feel really overwhelmed, or it might be too in-depth for them, or it might be not enough support for them, then we have that ongoing iterative process where the waiting list of people is then, interchangeable. And we have an 8-week program, and we say that you can have replacements from the waiting list to replace dropouts up until week 3. And then we have a closed group after week 3, because of the growth and I guess the strength in connection is a lot more significant. And that means that there's a lot of interruption from that new member that might come in after week 3.
Sounds like a great system. Thanks for sharing that, Joel. Anyone else? We have a couple other questions, and we have about 20 more minutes. Is it okay if we go to the next one, or? Okay, so next question is, how do your participants register for your programs? Do they fill out a Google form? I mean, would they go online? How have you seen the best success for your participants to be able to sign up?
I can speak to this a little bit. I'm not sure if it's helpful. So a lot of our young men, we start engaging with them before we even get paperwork, because if you shove paperwork in their face, they're not going to want to do it. So we engage with them doing some sort of physical activity. And then if they fit the criteria and if they're keen, then we just have them fill out their basic details of what we need for our CRM, like name, date of birth, a little bit of background. If we get referrals from an agency, then they're filling out an online form with the same information, which goes directly into the CRM, so we don't have to input it again. So it's kind of like the same. Yeah, it's however you can streamline a process, you're not getting information and having to input it is probably the best way if you have capacity to do that. But yeah, we get self-referrals, we get referrals from probation, sometimes from the prison, social services, whānau, family, friends, past guys who've done the program tell us guys who need it, we just go and find them. So we get a lot of referrals kind of through the grapevine, really.
Nice. I know Best Day, we have an online platform where parents will go sign up their children and they know where to show up and when, and it usually works pretty well. So it's pretty simple for Best Day.
I think the only piece around whatever platform is chosen or way of signing people up is chosen is just honoring confidentiality of the information. And so if you are collecting sensitive information about their mental health or background, making sure that you know who's going to be accessing that and seeing that, and having those safety precautions around that, just to make sure their personal information is guarded and honored.
Definitely. And especially if you're collecting payment for the participants to be able to attend, that it all has to be very secure. I completely agree with you. Okay, so that goes next question. So let's see, are your programs free of charge or not? And if so, how do you survive financially if they're free of charge?
Big question. Money makes the world go round, right?
Yes, it does.
For us, our programs are always free, and we make sure that they're free because money is an extra barrier that prevents people from getting that support. So like we talked about earlier, if they're going to fall through the cracks, then you don't want money to be the decider. And we've got people that actually struggle to even pay for a bus to get to the beach as they travel an hour from out in the western suburbs. So it'll always be free. Where that money comes from is whether that is grants, community organizations that partner to then put 10 of their people through a program. There might be fundraising, events, philanthropy. We've got a fee for service model, which I think is something that is worthwhile exploring moving forward. Like the concept of how can we use social enterprise to fund the charitable offering that we provide? So for us, it's corporate wellbeing, and we actually go into the workplaces in the CBD and do these quite expensive programs that they're happy to throw money at, because with COVID and the struggles that people are going through in terms of the business world, we can actually provide mental health support by mental health professionals, giving them, I guess, an avenue to help their workers. So that's been a massive one for us. And we're seeing that people are really stoked to be able to put their name behind a cohort of people and almost tell their staff, hey, look what we've done. Look at this awesome good that we're doing, rather than paying a for-profit mental health organization to do that.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah, I love that, Joel. I think that's one of the ways to help expand surf therapy beyond just a nonprofit sector, because surf therapy is a therapeutic modality. It's where there's research happening, things are moving that direction. And so it doesn't need to be just within the nonprofit sector. And so being able to open up opportunities for those with financial abundance to be able to pay for their surf therapy experience, and that in exchange goes to help those who can't, which goes into that full reciprocal, like actually community-based healing model in general. And so one of the things that we've been practicing, depending on programs, we have our open programs that are a one-to-one model. And so for every woman that does have funds and does have the money to invest in their mental health, they can sign up and pay for the program, and that supports the scholarship for a woman who wouldn't be able to have access. And that also helps integrate different communities of women that would typically not have those opportunities to interweave together and be resources and support for each other and learn from each other. So that really helps weave an intersectional space for different communities to come together. And then we also have different scholarship funds where people can donate specifically to different women's groups or different mental health needs that they're passionate about and feel connected to. And so that's their way of supporting those different mental health pieces that they really care about. Grants are huge, especially now with the increase of understanding and acknowledgement of mental health and the need for mental health and services. I feel like the grant opportunities have upped. People are getting it, which is exciting that it's becoming a recognized, normalized need. And then one of the things that we noticed was when we did have our opt-in program or open to the community programs, the women who paid, even if it was $10, just some type of commitment to showing up, showed up. Whereas those who were coming in from just coming in through the grapevine into the spaces who didn't opt in with some financial, yeah, I'm going to be there, would end up not sticking with the program or not showing up at all. And so some opt in of a financial, yes, I'm going to be here. And it can even be you put in a deposit and you get that deposit back once you do show up. So just that, because we do live in a world where it revolves around money. Money is one of those languages and ways of people committing and really showing up for themselves. And if they don't have the funds to actually pay it, knowing okay, I'm putting in my $5 and when I come, I'm going to get that back. And so that's my choice of oh, okay, I'm really committing to being there versus my anxiety kicking in and overcoming me. And then therefore I just can't do it. I'm not going to go. I'd be nope, I'm committed. I've opted in and I'm going to go. So being able to utilize money as a tool and a resource to helping people really choose themselves and choose their healing in a powerful way can actually be, we found it to be really supportive for helping people get there. And then doing partner programs with other organizations that have funding specifically for mental health services. And so being able to do programs with them. And so the organization that we're partnering with is paying for the program versus the individuals. And since the individuals are part of that ongoing program, they get ongoing support to actually get there as well, because the car picks them up and brings them there.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. I think what I did a couple years ago was I reached out to many of the local inpatient treatment centers and asked them if they were interested in doing adventure therapy. And I did get 2 different treatment centers who were interested. And so they actually have the money to pay for adventure therapy because the people who are going to the inpatient treatment centers in the area where I live are paying a lot of money for treatment, for recovery. And then they have the money, the budget for adventure therapy. And so that particular program that I do is a great resource for me to then allow me to also offer other programs where people aren't paying or it's sort of subsidized in some ways by that. But I'm just figuring that stuff out. But that's one idea, and I think it's worth looking into.
Well, for Best Day, they do charge, a small fee per child, and they do have a scholarship program for any child or family who can't afford it. So it's a little bit of what you've talked about, spreading the wealth. So, and it also helps, again, motivate families to come to the beach when the kids aren't wanting to get out of bed at 6 in the morning and they're like, oh, but we already paid. And they show up and the kids have an amazing day. So I don't know, it seems like both models seem to work. And thank you all for your feedback. The last question is, what's your backup plan if the weather or surf conditions don't allow the sessions to go on? Do you postpone, cancel, go to an indoor place? Any ideas? Does that happen to any of you?
Yeah, I can speak to this. We have regular programs. When our programs are running, it's every single week, no matter what, unless all of our staff are dead or in hospital, the programs run. So we've got quite a few big boards and paddles. So if the day is still nice and there's just absolutely no waves, we go stand up paddleboarding. If we can't get in the water for safety reasons like tsunami or thunder and lightning, then we go to an indoor pool and still like the guys just do swimming and all sorts of stuff. But regardless of what's happening, we're really determined to get the boys into water. So we don't have another activity. We're like, if we're surf therapy, we need to get into water of some sort because that's a massive part of the cleansing. So unless there's a natural disaster or safety reason, rain, whatever, we're out there surfing. If it's crazy weather, windy, cold, rainy, stormy, we're still out there unless it's lightning or a tsunami.
They breed them pretty tough over in New Zealand. You guys are hard. I love it. But rain, hail, or shine is definitely how we roll as well. But often when the surf, like we had 5 weeks out of an 8-week program when the surf was too gnarly to get out there. And everyone was shattered because they were really bummed that they couldn't actually go surfing, but they still had so much fun. And almost the weeks that they weren't out in the waves were more profound because they were connecting a lot more. We've got this thing called a tube rock where you go into the baths, you just sit under it and the waves just smash over you and you get barreled. It's like the first experience of having a barrel. And then you put the surfboards on the sand, and then the big waves will wash up, and it's like surfing still, and they can get a feel for what that's like as the waves are washing under their board. And so before they've even surfed, they can feel like, wow, that feels amazing. And the board will move around, they might fall off. And then we also do like linking arms. It's like a trust exercise where you will slowly take one step forward with each other to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and supported in that as these waves are washing up and we're sitting down on the ground, the waves are sort of like coming up and washing us around and you feel exhilarated while still not getting that chance to surf. So there's plenty of stuff you can do. But I agree with Krista, the premise of being in the water, that washing away of all of that troubling times, I think is really profound. And if there's an opportunity to do waterways, like we don't have stand-up paddleboards, but we actually do like paddling races where we'll split up the teams. We'll have, instructors at each end. You've got to paddle around them and they get to build up their paddling skills, but also feel like they're exerting that energy.
Yeah, Joel, you helpfully suggested going to a wave pool because we do have limited swell here. But I've put a lot of thought into alternatives throughout the year, and paddleboarding is really popular here. No one really does it for sort of mental health specific sessions, but also it's a bit more expensive. Wake surfing, so there's a lot of speedboats in the marina, and sounds a bit crazy, but I think that would also be a really good alternative, just to feel that kind of rush of going at speed and that kind of stuff.
I want to go to your program. I want to go like surfing.
Gonna have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. I feel like some of the things that, unfortunately in San Diego, we've had a number of days where we haven't been able to get into the water and conditions have been perfect, but it's because of the toxicity levels in the ocean. And so when those issues come up, it's actually a really good teaching moment to be able to dive into being able to look at the conditions around you and gauge, like, how do I interact with this condition that's going to be helpful for me? And so it's a really good, like, emotional regulation, personal skills, and community building opportunity of being like, sometimes you shouldn't paddle out. And how do you know when to not paddle out? And how do you connect that to the different things that you're experiencing on land? And then we've done, when there hasn't been waves and you can go out, we've done like the trust walks where you stack, like kind of line the boards up like a bridge, and inviting people they like walk across them, or they start with crawling across them and falling in, then walking across them, crawling and falling in, or like dancing across them and falling in. So it's a practice of falling, of taking up space, of trusting each other. So that's a really fun practice when the water's flat. Having a little runway dance off. I feel like there's also just like going and walking the beach and noticing what you find and setting intentions and finding objects that symbolize different parts of your journey or of your healing, and being able to speak into kind of like sand play therapy type stuff. The ocean, just even if you're not in the ocean, just being near it, being able to see it, that in itself is very healing as well. So there's tons of things that can do. Just because bad weather doesn't mean you can't get in or can't still receive the healing.
The farmers must be soft over here. The 1 week it was bad, they all headed to the pub for a beer and under the warm heat pump. So you guys are much tougher than these boys.
Don't worry, Jack. They're harder than anyone by going out and doing what they do on the farm.
Yeah, sometimes with the kids, if the conditions are too rough, we'll just take them out on boogie boards, or, you know, like Natalie's saying, play in the sand, or we'll line up a bunch of the beach wheelchairs and have beach wheelchair races where someone's pushing them, and they love that too. I mean, the magic of the beach, I feel like Natalie said, is so healing anyway that we always find something fun to do. Luckily, we haven't had rain yet, but if that were the case, I'm sure that the kids probably wouldn't show up anyway, unfortunately, but we do issue refunds if they don't. Does anybody have any questions? I know there are a few new faces here today. Is there anything you'd like to discuss in the future or topics you'd like to have addressed?
I think one thing I was wondering was how people interact with licensed like psychiatrists, psychologists, anyone in the sort of medical profession, if anyone like reviews any intake forms or questionnaires that you have, or if you have in your program like a referral, if someone is clearly suffering and you feel like there's a liability or something, do you have a program where you refer them to a medical professional?
We have the Rural Support Trust, which is a government-funded agency, and they're 0800 number 12 farmers, and so that's the, you know, if they're at the top of the cliff, they've got a number there they call, and the rural support team are there 24 hours a day, and then if it's not so urgent, the team will be out there and the next day or the day after, and you know they're mostly of farmers, which is really cool. They're farmers themselves, so but then they act as just they train up in that space and help them through what they're going through. So yeah, we have a number there for the farmers, and they know their local rural support number. But and I'm sure, yeah, in your region you could yeah, get a number there. Yeah.
For us, it's often the people in the group that don't mention on paper where it starts to come up when it's in the group itself. And so we ask the right questions. Like we have the mental health clinicians who are the surfing instructors, so they ask the right questions to get, I guess, the right information. But they have a pretty structured and clinical risk assessment process. So if they are at risk to themselves or to others, or there is any active suicidality or thoughts of suicide or self-harm, basically they are you know, removed from the group in a really laid-back, casual way to then have a one-on-one conversation to say, how can we support you and what do you need at the moment? If there is a you know, referral pathway that's required, what we usually have is a referring organisation or a case manager, a caseworker, someone that's actually responsible for that individual, and we'll work directly in with them and their existing support needs. What's helpful is that if someone is known to have, you know, complex mental health challenges or struggling quite often, having a care plan is really valuable. So a care plan being, you know, if things do go, you know, south, then what are the steps you need to do? And they're almost doing that when they're well. So they're helping build that. And that's something that you could even do as part of your program if you had the right clinical support to facilitate that with them. But I think that at the end of the day, if we had no one that was a support, they had no next of kin on their paperwork, like they always have to have an next of kin, but we'll ensure that they are actually put in touch with the 1-800 number similar to Jack, that it goes to the local mental health support network. And if there is a real serious risk, then it's a bit of a no-brainer. It's just call emergency services, being ambulance or police, and then support that individual with what they need. So it's very similar to what you would do in the community without our surf therapy programs if you just had someone that was struggling.
Thank you. That's really helpful. It's actually, there's actually nothing like that in this region. We don't have like a suicide helpline, and it's actually against Islam. So people don't even really talk about, you know, attempted suicide. So it's something that needs massive awareness, which I'm hoping this program will help with as well.
you have got your work cut out for you there. I tell you
Yeah.
what, Paul, it's so hard.
Yeah, I'm excited to help people.
Yeah, it could be helpful to like partner with therapists in the region that can be direct referrals if there's not a hotline. I know, like for us, all of our programs are co-facilitated by a surf coach, as well as a surf therapy, so like a licensed therapist. And so that way there is someone that's licensed and has that background and can kind of feel out for if someone is alluding to different things, especially within different cultures, if people don't say that stuff directly, like they are attuned to the different cultural ways of speaking into that and embodying that. And so being able to partner with can be really powerful. And it can be fun for the therapist as well. If you can't find a therapist that already does have a surf practice, they get a chance to learn how to surf and get to be in it, and then also get a chance to support in that way. And so it can be a fun experience.
Thank you so much. That's great.
Well, everyone, that is almost time. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared today. Sorry, it's been a long day. Can we do a quick screenshot since we take photos of every meeting, please? Joel, would you mind doing the honors, or I can try and do it? You did a really good job last time.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. I'll do that now. So if everyone wants to throw me your best shackers in 5 seconds, then we're going to go hot. Yeah. All righty. 3, 2, 1. Sweet as. Let's do one for good measure because I think I just missed someone's shackers. So we'll go one more. 3, 2, 1. Nice one.
I'm on mute. Thank you again so much. And thank you to Natalie for that great presentation. I really appreciate everyone's feedback this week. And it was wonderful seeing your faces and seeing some new ones. Can't wait to see you next week. Month.
That was awesome. Woo!
Hey, Chris.
Take care, everyone.
See you guys.
You too.
Bye.